All right, guys. Okay. All right, guys. So today we will learn about reflection. And one of the things that we will learn about reflection is it's basically simple. The first thing first, it says graph the polygon with W, X, Y, Z with vertex 2, which is 1 here, to -1. That's my W. My X is 5, -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1. My Y is 4, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then -3. 1, 2, 3. That is my Y. And my Z is -1, +3. -3. -1, 3. So this will be my polygram. All right. Now it says then graph it after a reflection across the x-axis. So I know this is my x and this is my y. So I know my image will go over here. So if the x is my mirror, I know that will be the one that will go across. So one thing they says across the x-axis. So one thing at first, I know I would keep the x-axis or the coordinate and make the y coordinate opposite. Okay, so if I need to do that, all I really need to do is I'm going to keep my 2 for W. So I'm going to have 2 and make my y opposite. So the opposite of -1 is +1. Same thing for my x. Opposite of, I keep my 5. And the opposite of -1 is now +1. Y prime, we'll keep my 4. And the opposite of my -3 is 3. And same thing with Z prime. -1 is my X. And I made 3 my Y. So now I will plot these. I have 2, 1, 2, 1. That's W prime. Then I have my X, which is 5, +1 prime. My Y prime, which is 4, and then +3. And my Z, which is -1, +3. Z prime. So this would be my object reflected across the x-axis. So when it says reflected across the x-axis, for me to keep the x-axis or the x-coordinate and make the y-coordinate opposite. Now for the reflection of, they want us to have the reflection of quadrilateral WXYZ across the dotted line. So since it's not across an axis, all I'm going to do is count how many spots this line is. Each point is for what? Because they want us to label the image W prime, X prime, Y prime, and Z prime. So I'm going to see how many spots this W is from this dotted line. 1, 2. Okay, so since I'm reflected, I need to keep the same amount of spots away. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and that will be my W prime one. I'm going to do the same thing for X. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to count 4 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. my y prime, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, which is my y prime, and my z, 1, 2, which is 1, 2. I'll just connect the dots. So this will be my other object of my reflecting across the x-axis. I mean across the dotted line, since it cannot go. Now, one thing, some rules about reflection that we need to know is that reflection, what do we do? Because simply is everything is simple. If the direction says reflect over the x-axis, keep the x-coordinate. Keep the x-coordinate the same and make the y-coordinate the opposite. So just like we've been doing in the first one, it says we keep the x, if it says reflect across the x-axis, we keep the x-coordinate the same, and the y, make the y opposite. So if I had something that says -2, -3, I would keep my x the same, which is -2, and opposite of -3 is +3. So I would make the opposite, the y the opposite. Now, if it says reflect over the y-axis, if the directions tells you, if it says reflect over the y-axis, you would keep the y-coordinate the same and make the x-coordinate the opposite. So in this case, if I had something 3, 2, I would keep my 2, because that is my y-coordinate, and make my 3 negative. So whichever one that says reflect over, you're going to keep that number and do the opposite to everything else. If you need more understanding of this, we could go over this in MSI. Hopefully you guys understand this. Thank you.